preparing to lose their jobs. Yesterday, President Trump's administration moved to end affirmative action in federal contracting and directed that all federal DEI workers be put on paid leave and eventually be laid off. The moves follow an executive order that President Trump signed on his first day, ordering a sweeping dismantling of the federal government's diversity and inclusion programs. Trump has called the programs discrimination and insisted on restoring strictly merit-based hiring. Joining us now, Chief Legal Analyst Kali Frodes. Okay, so obviously some sweeping moves. If we know one thing about President Trump, he is true to his word. But what does this mean for those workers who are on paid leave now and set to lose their jobs?
If this is a step into making America great again, those folks that are American citizens today are going to find out that they're going on paid leave, ultimately losing their job. If you're a contractor contracting with the federal government that offered a diversity and inclusion program, it says it in the order. Guess what? Your contract is cut. Now you no longer have a job. Your staff no longer have a job. So this is going to be thousands of people that work for the government, that are Americans, that are going to be unemployed. So when we talk about cutting $500 billion from the budget, and people are trying to figure out, well, how are they going to do this? Where's it going to be? Well, this is one place. Let's just go ahead and get rid of this diversity stuff because we don't need it. It doesn't make sense, and we don't need it because it's discriminatory, it's exclusion, it's not inclusion. We don't want this, and we don't need it, and let's go ahead and chop it on the second day in office. But you got to, if you don't remember history and don't recognize what got us here, then it's easy to get rid of things like this. Look back to Lyndon Johnson. He signed the executive order in 1965. Why? Because we had a number of civil rights issues that were happening in the country. There was a push to understand that we needed to have a diverse work base that reflected what our country and our community looked like. And so he pushed forward these efforts, and Trump today is signing away, I should say yesterday, signing away all of those years, 1965 to today, signing away those years just in the swipe of a pen.
If you know about Lyndon B. Johnson, you know he wasn't very kind to black folks. So anything that he signs, you should question, to me. And if you look at the stats, I was talking to somebody the other day who does not agree with me politically. And they're like, I was looking at something you said, and it's interesting. After the Civil Rights Act, all the stats for black people went down.
Yeah.
I said,
That's what Byron said. They got mad at him.
They did. So, hey, numbers don't lie. So clearly, I really don't see what's the issue with taking race off. Now, the people losing their jobs thing.
That sucks. Oh, that
I didn't know that happened.
But these are federal jobs. This is what the American people also wanted. They want it.
Yeah, I didn't know that's what happened.
It's federal.
I feel bad for them. But, they got good resumes and they're getting paid leave, so it will happen. I feel like the least racist thing to do is to take race off it.
Yeah.
We're going off merit.
Yeah.
Now we don't know what race you are.
It does suck that
their
their job's
resume
gone.
and see what you've done, and that's who we hire.
It does suck that their job is gone.
That
but
does suck.
It's federal
I didn't know
jobs
that
also,
happened.
though. So if this is what the president thinks is best for the country, to get rid of these people that might not be doing good in their federal job, because that affects all of us, then they might have to go. This is what it is.
I also think it's worth noting that we've been covering this for a while. They have made it pretty clear that their plan was to get rid of affirmative action and DEI. And rather than take the headline of the Equal Opportunity Employment Act and say that, oh, this is discriminatory, this means they're going to be able to discriminate against you. They're taking away affirmative action in federal contracts, because the Equal Opportunity Employment Act mandates that if you get a federal contract, you have to have affirmative action initiatives.
That's insane.
So anybody with a federal contract
that has to go.
Has to have affirmative action DEI.
That has to go.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
It's just not fair.
Listen, we know what they're doing. We saw this movie before. They want to throw so many things at one time and have people just scatterbrained, disillusioned. But I'm not falling for the okie doke. What this is about, Congresswoman, is they want to attack the money source. They do not want to see black advancement. They want to go after the money, and they're not satisfied with white women getting 78% of the federal NWBE contracts. They want 100%. And those white women are silent. And so folk need to understand, and frankly, Democrats need to understand they got to be a hell of a lot more aggressive in understanding the game being played here.
Yeah, so for me, it is overwhelming for so many people. He operates in chaos and only chaos and confusion. And he consistently hides some of the really big things in the chaos, right? So I appreciate that you're talking about the executive order as it relates to civil rights. And so I think it is important for people to understand that Republicans and Democrats alike, including Donald Trump, consistently signed off on this EO. And this time, he decided that he was going to rescind it, right? And so when people are like, oh, well, what is it about immigration? And oh, what is this DEI thing? And oh, what is this going on over here? Here's the reality. It is all rooted in white supremacy. And that's what people need to understand. The white supremacy agenda is alive and well, and every single one of these attacks, they are rooted in white supremacy. So unless you are a white man, I don't really know what place you have in this agenda that we see coming out. And by keeping us divided, by having those that understand the importance of affirmative action, those that understand the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion over here fighting this fight, and then those that are so concerned about their family members and whether or not they're going to be deported, they're over here in this other fight. Instead of uniting us, we need to understand that it's not an attack on just one group. It's an attack on all of us, and it is all rooted in white supremacy. Even this random whitewashing of Jesus and this narrative around Christianity. It is the white supremacist narrative of Christianity, the same one that kept black folk enslaved.
You took it too
What
far,
did that have to do?
Jasmine.
Why did she bring that up?
So you're for discrimination. One, and Jasmine, also the Democrats. Let me tell you what bill the Democrats voted for. Y'all voted to keep rapists in this country that has harmed a kid, anybody, to stay in this country. I don't want to hear shit about nothing.
I saw something today.
Y'all voted for rapists, illegal rapists, to stay in this country.
I'm not gonna lie, this show is very divisive.
I don't know if they meant
They
it
fan the
like
flames of division and stoke black hysteria. They're trying to get people scared. They're trying to get people led by fear, and they're just trying to sway the narrative to fit the way they want it. Like I would want one of them to explain to me, like with some factual data, about how we'll start seeing less people be hired because of this, and we'll start seeing less people be successful because of this. I want one of them to explain that to me, because as I understand it, DEI is harmful to
It's discrimination.
black people. It's discriminatory.
It's the literal
and
definition.
Black people don't even succeed the most under affirmative action in DEI. It actually benefits
And I just don't see how
white
it
women
makes
the
sense.
most. So I'm
If
just so
you-
confused on if you guys are so afraid of white supremacy, and this thing is helping white people the most, why would you be so against it?
It just doesn't make sense. And we blame everything on white supremacy. This
White
doesn't
women.
really have
White
anything
women.
to do with this topic, but they said this is from Charlie Kirk, 204 Democrats just voted against a bill to give life-saving treatment to babies who survive abortions.
How many?
204.
Wow.
Voted
What,
against a bill
Wow.
to give life-saving treatment to a baby that survived an
They
abortion.
said, "Oh no, that baby gotta go." Finish the job. And we should put
so the babies-
Quentin's
Like
video on
survive the
here.
abortion, I guess that happens sometimes. I guess, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but I guess that happens. And so there's a surgery that I guess that
They keep the baby alive that almost died.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
they tried to abort it, so
The
I
baby
guess
didn't
sometimes
die.
it didn't- yeah, so they can save it, I guess, but I guess they voted against it.
What type
204.
of bill is that?
We should put Quentin's video on here.
I don't know.
Which
From
who?
Charlie Kirk, I don't
From
know.
Black Conservative Federation, where he explains how the Equal Opportunity Act is not what the headlines are.
Yeah, when you
it's on
first hear
X.
it, it sounds
It's a good video.
It sounds bad.
How long
though, I
is
ain't
it?
gonna lie.
It's like a minute.
If you don't know, it sounds bad, but if you know who
It's on
Lyndon
our
B.
page.
Johnson is, and you know how he felt about black people, I feel like that kind of shows. Why would Lyndon B. Johnson, to me, is the most racist president that I've ever heard of. So
there.
why would he do anything to help black people?
This headline has been going viral for about the past day or so, and people are understandably upset and reasonably asking questions, so let's talk about it. First and foremost, there are a few things that people need to understand. Number one, your protections against discrimination, specifically in the workplace, did not start in 1965 through an executive order by the president, nor did they stop being modified in 1965 by the same executive order. So where do they come from? Your protections against discrimination in the workplace are either constitutionally based or they come from legislation passed by Congress. Notice neither one of those two things mentioned an executive order from the president. So where's the confusion? Let me explain it. Federal discrimination acts like Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 already prohibits employers from discriminating on the basis of race, color, religion, sexuality, a number of things. And that's only been modified throughout the court system over the years to include things like age and disabilities. So if all of that came from the Constitution and federal discrimination acts passed by Congress, what did this executive order actually talk about? This executive order basically mandates that federal contractors and federal contractors only have to have affirmative action programs in place in order to keep their federal contracts. This doesn't mean that now that this is revoked, that these same companies can start going out and discriminating on who they choose to and not to hire, because that's federal law. That's part of the Constitution. That has already been decided by the courts that it's illegal. So no, this has nothing to do with that. But you can expect to see a lot more misleading headlines like this because companies and people and blogs get paid to post stuff like this in order to stoke division.
Wow.
You see how quickly he broke that
well
down?
explained. Yes,
It's very well explained, easy to digest.
So it's they basically, the order that Trump signed makes it to where the federal contractors don't have the DEIs anymore.
Pretty much, yeah.
So you still can't discriminate, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But you just don't have to. We're not gonna have those programs in these federally contracted things.
Because you're discriminating.
Because it hurts certain groups if they already
Like
have
whenever
too
I
many.
thought about the Asian thing, bro, like
The Asian thing,
why
get
are we
rid of it.
gonna penalize Asians because
They're smart.
because they have a more they're better they're
They want
smarter.
to, or they want to go to school. And they,
Like,
they
That's
want,
discrimination.
It's harder for an Asian to go to Harvard than a nigga. That's just facts.
Damn,
So
why you gotta say a nigga?
Because it is.
Wow.
So I'm sorry. They're a black man, black woman, they're a black human, they're a colored person, whatever. But dude, like, that's just not fair. That's not fair. If just like now the NBA is all black, if Harvard is all Asian, damn it, then that's what it is.
That's what
I'm
you love to
sorry.
do.
We're gonna let the people who got them 4.0s and them 35 and above ACTs.
That's what you love to
If
do.
you ain't got that, if Jimmy got a 3.7 and a 32, you can't let him in. Because
The standard too high.
Let's see what the view said.
hey, this nigga crazy.
I think this is a really important issue, especially because when we're talking about DEI, we're not talking about a DEI office. We're talking about equal opportunity and inclusion across all
That's what he
offices
gave you.
for all people, so that it's more reflective
That's what he just gave
of
you.
what America looks like. This will specifically harm women, right? And it will specifically harm African Americans and Latinos. So we're not just talking about black jobs.
How about this?
It will affect Asians as well. And so I think this is really counter to his campaign promises to protect black jobs, because in the federal government, overwhelmingly, black professionals work there. We're talking about over 16%, more than the black population. And so I think what we're facing here is sort of a second nadir, because Woodrow Wilson, back in the day, did the same thing. He resegregated the federal government, leading to a plunge in income for not only black workers, but also for women. And so what we're seeing is an attack, not on necessarily DEI or wokeness. We're seeing an attack on the very fabric of our company, which is opportunity for all, including women. And women, what Whoopi has said often, women were really the most, they gained the most advantages from affirmative action. And so this is a war on women. I think it's a war on people of color. And what we're going to see is a lot of pain, but especially to those communities that need those jobs.
And also one community that...
It's very funny that she says that this is a war on women, but she specifically leaves out the fact that it benefits white women the most. But I thought white supremacy, though.
Yeah.
Oh, she conveniently leaves that out. She conveniently leaves that out.
Usually she would.
She might not even know that.
Let's get some stats and factual data here. They say we don't look at facts and data.
She might not actually know that. But actually, guys, people need to stop just saying stuff on TV and not citing their sources. They need to be a PowerPoint or something where you can prove these things that you're saying.
Stat from Boom, because she's had several.
Well, people can say that.
What is that?
We
but
try to look it up.
Yeah, and we don't claim to be no experts like them.
If
They
we
got
wrong-
law degrees and shit. We just say, hey, we gonna common sense that I heard this and that. I heard, hey.
I've got something to say. I Googled who benefits from affirmative action the most. According to AI, white women have benefited the most from affirmative action programs. According to some studies and scholars, affirmative action is a set of programs that aim to reduce discrimination in education, employment, and government contracting. How white women have benefited. In education, white women are more educated and make up a larger portion of the workforce. In the workplace, white women have moved up in the workplace, and from 2020 to 2022, they expanded their share of senior leadership jobs at twice the rate at women of color. No.
I know, but like, her point is,
she said this. No, listen. She's saying this is specifically going to hurt Black and Latino and Asians. Well, she's always the one talking about white supremacy and how it's going to hurt white supremacy. But she doesn't. But she's contradicting herself by leaving out the fact that this hurts the affirmative action and DEI programs have benefited white women the most. It says from 2020 to 2022, they expanded their share of senior leadership jobs at twice the rate of women of color. So if they take this out of place, how does this hurt women of color? Because they're taking the uneven playing field affirmative action that's putting white women on a pedestal above these other women of color. They're taking it out and evening the playing field for everyone. But this is going to hurt them.
The groups that benefit the most is women, Black people, and Latinos. So she is, I mean, it is going to hurt women.
Yeah, but normally if
Black
something...
and Latinos.
If white people pass some type of order that boosts the stats of white people, she will bring that up. But since
she probably doesn't know that, though.
Convenient, she doesn't know that. She doesn't know that. She knows that probably. I would say. She knows those stats. So she didn't know that. She probably knows that, but it's convenient for. It's not convenient for her argument to bring that up.
Yeah, whatever. You can look at it like that, but it is definitely going to affect.
Yeah, we know that, but it's still like normally she'd be the first one to cry racism.
Okay. Her point that it affects women is true.
That's true.
Yes, that is a fact because affirmative action benefits women the most. But she's saying this is going to hurt women of color. She says it hurts women, and then she goes on to say it's going to hurt women of color more. But she's always the one droning on about white supremacy, and they're taking out an affirmative action and DEI quota, which puts white women on a pedestal above other women of color who she claims are going to be hurt by this, rather than looking at this and saying that now women of all races will be judged solely on their merits and achievements and their qualifications, evening the playing field for everyone. And now we won't see that other women are being put in leadership positions and gaining roles and advantages over other women due to the color of their skin.
Yeah, they're taking away discrimination, literally.
I think that's a win.
But especially to those communities that need those jobs.
And also, one community that you didn't mention is the LGBTQ+.
Absolutely.
Look, one of the things he did, not only did he revoke a bunch of Biden executive orders, including one that calls for the negotiation of lower drug prices for people on Medicaid and Medicare. That's going to be very painful for Americans. But he also revoked an order, the Equal Opportunity order signed by Lyndon Johnson in 1965.
I don't know what he said.
So not only are we now going back 4 years.
Sue Lyndon Johnson, maybe.
Well, we're not only, he's not taking us back 4 years.
Yeah.
He's taking us back to 1965 before it was legal for there to be interracial marriage in this country. I would love to think, and I hope that we get there one day, I would love to think that there is no racism by the people who do hirings in the government and in corporations in America. But that is not the case. I would love to think that there is no homophobia, but that is not the case. And I think that by getting rid of this and doing it in such a bold way on day one, what he is doing is giving a green light to people who are racist, to people who are homophobic, to people who are anti-women and think they should be in the kitchen, and telling them there is no consequence to your racism.
But one of the criticisms against DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion, all great in theory, but the DEI programs have not accomplished things. They've been a bureaucracy of money suck that have not gotten anywhere. When you say people are threatened, what do you think the removal of DEI is going to do to those people? Because a lot of this is...
I can tell you that, because the removal of DEI, actually at this point in time...
Because they're not going to fire people.
They wouldn't fire people
the departments of DEI.
Well, they're not only
going
to
put them on paid leave.
They put
the DEI people.
officers.
But what I'm saying is all the people that work.
But they also stopped this thing. These
she just ate.
Ridiculous.
They cut her off.
Executive orders. What they are doing is also eliminating the protections for discrimination awarding government contracts. And to be clear, that is going to hurt women. That is going to hurt.
But I
business.
I believe in the spirit of this, which is DEI
But there's action that
Well,
supports
Let her
it.
talk,
University of
Sonny.
Michigan,
Shut up.
$85 million in a 5-year DEI plan. The Black Student Union said $85 million was spent, and yet Black students' experience on campus has hardly improved, and enrollment has gone down. So that's one example of saying
Harvard
that
Law School, the
it's not
enrollment of
just a
Black students
criticism
have
of
gone
diversity; it's a criticism of the programs being effective. And the one thing I will say that is, as we
show
push
that they're very
DEI,
effective.
that's not what I'm reading. But the point here is that I would also say this all started in colleges and the turning over of affirmative action. I would ask that they immediately address legacy admissions as well. Because if we're talking about
We're gonna address
equal
everything.
opportunity,
I
we
told
need to
y'all,
get
she
rid
is
of
the best
legacy.
one on this panel.
One thing, which is
She's
this is
too.
abolishing existing DEI departments within the federal government. So people who worked in those departments are being put on leave. It is not going back and like, oh, this woman was hired by this officer, so she's losing
The
her
Civil Rights
job
Division
across.
has been put on pause
But
as well.
that's, I'm just saying a distinction.
Yeah, but
that people aren't-
they are going through a purge department by
worried about shit
department.
that matter.
They are finding out, who might be doing. I mean, they've been asking people in the different federal departments to basically snitch on each other.
Yes.
Who's a liberal, who's a Biden supporter, who's into equity,
Be for real.
and they
Where's
have
your
been,
evidence?
they have been
Where's
purging
your
those people,
evidence?
which they told us they were going to do. What's one of the first things
That's
he did?
not 1965.
He fired.
That's 1935.
He
Yes, it is.
fired the commandant, the first woman commandant of the Coast Guard. He did that on day one.
Okay.
A woman,
We
not
got it.
because she was
Gave a black man
unqualified.
ATF.
Can we come
We
get
got it
y'all?
because he
Can we
won.
come get
Right.
you? Can we come
They
get you?
just said they come with so many things and said this is that,
gone
this
down.
and that, and
So
this
that's-
and that.
You know what's
evidence do
crazy?
you have?
Why is the minorities
Yeah,
on this damn
you
panel?
know what's
John?
crazy? Trump made a black man
sorry.
the head of ATF, and then they had this black woman where her name was like diversity, equity, and inclusion. They changed her department name to chief executive.
Well, that sounds better.
That sounded. He's just trying
How
to.
they
You know,
find out that,
I hate that. I hate that when she started telling the truth and highlighting how DEI has been completely ineffective in addressing students of color and how there's been an adverse response or adverse,
decrease.
an adverse response to the money that's being spent. Like all this money has been spent on in the name of DEI, and she's harping and droning on how that's going to hurt black students. And she said, well, black students have reported themselves on college campuses that millions of dollars have been spent and their conditions have barely improved and enrollment has gone down. She tries to talk over her and try to make it seem like, oh, well, they have been entirely effective. She said, well, the data and the response from people says otherwise.
Hey,
And another thing, sorry. Why do they need LGBTQ protections for federal contracts? I mean, there's already things in place that says you can't discriminate against people due to their gender, race, ideology,
Can't help that,
religion. So like, I'm lost at the fact that you need a protection in the name of your sexuality. I personally believe that in the workplace, we shouldn't even know your sexuality. We're here to work. That should not even be coming up. That shit
make
is
it their
completely
identity
irrelevant.
all
We're
out
here
of the
to do a
time.
job and do a task to make money. Why do I need to know where you're sticking your private parts?
Yeah, I shouldn't be knowing
I'm gonna
about
be
that
real.
either. That's facts.
After
Let's keep
seeing
it on it.
the people that Joe Biden put in position, it was a lot of black people. And, stuff wasn't going too well in the country. The American people say, then you got to go ahead and wipe out who was ever hired and start it over. That's just what it is. Joe Biden put in a lot of people. When every time I look up somebody, there go another black. There go another black. There go another black he hired. He continues to do it. So, hey, that's a problem. The American people said it was a problem. They voted for it, and there it is. I don't know what y'all crying for.
Yeah, I mean, the American people voted in mass for this. I mean, we're starting to see the effects of all the promises. I mean, they vowed to end DEI and affirmative action. The statistics have shown
Dumb argument.
there's money being spent and there's not a good result.
Did the Supreme Court vote against it? They did.
Yeah, affirmative
Yeah,
action.
they did.
So what the
They
is
did
we
that.
talking
That was
about?
the first
know what they
step.
said about the Supreme
That was the first step.
The biggest cone. He said, Clarence said, these niggas so stupid. Like, this is literally discrimination.
And the fact that the stat says that white women have been advancing over their peers at 2 times the rate of women of color. Why are y'all not cheering for this? You think if you guys, I mean, like seriously, like black women do this stat right where they say we're the most educated. Well, if you're so educated and qualified and you're seeing that people are being benefited by affirmative action and DEI twice the rate as you and being put in positions at twice the rate as you, shouldn't you be cheering for that? I mean, the playing field just got even. Now you can use those degrees and qualifications and go get them big girl jobs.
Well, now common sense back in office.
But
guys.
they believe race is going to stop them from getting
I mean,
those
let's keep it
jobs.
100,
They
dog.
signed off of it. Now it's just an argument. The argument's over.
And if-
they
and
signed
if-
off on and it's over with. People have got fired. People on leave, and it's really happening. He wrapped that shit on the
But
boat.
listen, though, if you can prove that you were not hired in the fact of your race or gender or sexual ideology, you can sue and you will make money.
That is true.